New York City mayoral candidates about which foreign country they would visit first if they won. So to be clear, the question on its face makes entirely no sense, but this is how it was answered. Take a listen.
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first? Left to right, Ms. Adams.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo.
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my fourth trip to Israel, followed by my fifth trip to Ukraine, two of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
Mr. Mamdani.
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Not
as a Jewish state?
As a state with equal rights.
He won't say it has a right to exist as a Jewish state. Be very clear.
And his answer was no, he won't visit Israel.
I said that.
That's what he was trying to say.
No. Unlike you, I answer questions very directly.
All right.
My goal would be to take my first trip to Israel. My wife's life work in this area means a lot to our family, and it could coincide with my young son Miles' bar mitzvah.
Just like, this is our country, you guys. That's it. You know what? I'm going to take my 19th trip to Israel. Oh, well, I'm going to take my first trip after my son's bar mitzvah. Oh, I was planning on stopping over on the way for our honeymoon. We were going to stop and just go to Israel and do whatever we could. It's ridiculous and it's obvious. And the way that the establishment comes down, if you don't peddle those talking points, he says something totally normal. Yeah, I'm going to stay here in New York. Why do I have to make a trip to Israel? And he says, I'd rather work with the Jewish New Yorkers that are here. That makes sense. Why are they all coming down on him? Why have all of our politicians, left and right, sold us out? Okay? Republican Party. I'll never forget during the presidential debates, they were all wearing, the majority of them, I think there was only Vivek Ramaswamy was not wearing the Israeli pin. I'm like, you're running for president of the United States. What are you doing wearing the Israeli flag as a pin on your jacket? No one can answer these questions. And they do the same thing. I love Israel more. No, I love Israel more. No, I love Israel more. Keep in mind, by the way, Mamdani won, and New York has the largest population of Jewish people of any city in the world next to Israel. So that says something, okay? And he still won. Now, did he get the majority of the Jewish vote in New York? No, but the exit polls are quite stunning. He got way too much of the Jewish vote in New York, I would say. And I'm going to bring in Mark in my ear to mansplain what we're seeing here on the exit polls. Mark, can you please mansplain?
Yeah, as you can see, it looks like he, despite not winning the Jewish vote, he got a huge proportion of it. 32% is pretty insane for allegedly how anti-Israel he is. And even deeper in here, you can see that Israel was a factor in a lot of these people's votes. This is according to a CNN exit poll of about 4,700 people coming out. And really, it's an election for mayor of New York. I don't see what this has anything to do with that.
Yeah. I mean, this is just something. And I think it also speaks to when Norm Finkelstein was on our show and he was explaining that even amongst the Jewish community, like the Israel question is now here and it's not going to go around. It's not going to go away. This is sticking around. But I guess the bigger, broader question is why didn't MAGA? Why didn't MAGA? Why didn't MAGA do the thing? We've infiltrated MAGA and we told them to do what we want and we wanted them to all make posts, anti-Mamdani posts. Just to be clear, even President Trump, dedicated 900% more Truth Social posts to ensuring that Mamdani would lose than to ensuring that Charlie Kirk's murderer was found. 900% increase in messaging coming from him, since he didn't even send one message about investigating Charlie's murder. But the question is, why didn't MAGA listen even to Trump? Why didn't we all get on our platforms and say something? Because people like Dana Lash want to know, how are we going to win if you guys don't use your platforms and encourage people to vote? Well, the answer is pretty obvious. We don't recognize this MAGA because the fact that you're in it makes no sense. You were never Trump. If you're telling us that MAGA is now Josh Hammer, then MAGA is not MAGA. Okay. MAGA needs a new leader. And it's pretty obvious that you guys recognize that we have never been with you. We've actually never been on the same team. And if you think you're going to infiltrate and convince us that this is the same party while we get gaslit about everything that's happening, like I said, you lost the party. MAGA got fractured, not when Tucker Carlson interviewed Nick Fuentes, but when Donald Trump looked at us in our faces and said, Epstein who? That's when it was game over. Because Israel First is a cancer cell. It is a cancer cell, left or right, to everything and everyone that wants to play around with it. It is a radical psychosis that has manifested itself within both parties. And it is so radical that, in case you missed it, yesterday, they started attacking Brett Cooper. Brett Cooper, 23-year-old, bubbly Brett Cooper. She makes the majority of her videos dedicated to pop culture. Yes, she covers things that are, I would say, mainstream politics, nothing too daring, never speaks about Israel. And she did her part, by the way. The Zionists wanted her to do her part and encouraged New Yorkers to get out and vote against Mamdani. But it's not enough, of course, because this is a radical ideology. You give them 100%. You even say one critique, and they don't want to break bread with you. They want to destroy you. And that's what they want to do to Brett Cooper, because she watched the totally deranged Tucker is not MAGA Republican Jewish coalition event, and she agreed with the majority of sensible people that demands to censor speech, to deplatform is not only childish, it's also ineffective. It's also antithetical to what it means to be a conservative. So I'm going to let you listen to what Brett Cooper said about Randy Fine, and let me know if you're just so offended that you think that she needs to be canceled and destroyed. Take a listen to what Brett Cooper said.
Like Randy Fine, if you don't know who he is, he's a representative from Florida. He's the same guy who bragged about not washing his hands after he had a handshake with Netanyahu. He's repeatedly introduced bills to criminalize anti-Semitism, infringing upon free speech. I mean, he obviously, I'm sorry to say, but he obviously cares more about Israel than he does, principles like free speech. So, buddy, like, my advice to you, Randy Fine, is just move to Israel at this point. Like, considering you had to go through anger management classes a few years ago, I genuinely think you would probably be happier if you just moved to Israel. And that's not a dig at him. That's just a fact. It's a nudge of encouragement. I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to be healthy. I think you would be happier if you just moved to Israel. You could be over there singing songs with Mike Huckabee.
Seems like pretty sound advice. Rather than trying to make this country Israel, why don't you just go live in Israel? And here's what she had to say regarding Ted Cruz. Take a listen.
You are so blinded by your ridiculous, insane hatred of Tucker Carlson that you cannot see how irresponsible and hypocritical you are being. I mean, these tweets from Ted Cruz, I'm going to read you next, are a great example of this. So just a month ago, he tweeted this. He said, "They don't kill you because you're a Nazi. They call you a Nazi so they can kill you. Political violence is a left-wing phenomenon. Enough is enough. We need to shut it down." And then in response to Fuentes and Tucker this week, he tweeted this. "Trump's bombing of the Ayatollah's nuclear facilities made the little Nazi mad. Good. So now you're turning around and you're calling somebody that you don't like a Nazi. You're doing this out of blind rage because you're so angry that the conservative base's attitudes are rapidly changing, that Nick Fuentes is getting national attention, and so you have turned around and in response, you are compromising your own values in anger, which is such a dangerous precedent to set. And unfortunately for you guys, yes, the attitudes are changing. So again, it makes sense why this group is incredibly frantic.
She's a voice of Gen Z, so you would think that the good thing to do here would be to listen, to break bread, for someone to reach out and invite her onto a show so they can talk about it, so they can hear their voices. You might recall Charlie Kirk did this. He sat down with Gen Z and said, "I'm trying to tell them that they are pushing an entire generation away with their actions." But we know how they responded to Charlie Kirk doing that. They started calling him an anti-Semite. They started squeezing him up into the last moment of his life. They were making financial threats to him. And not just financial threats, they made good on those threats. People like Bob Shillman took $2 million away from him because he let Tucker Carlson hit the stage. They've learned nothing. They've learned nothing. And so rather than trying to reach across and say to Gen Z or to say to Brett Cooper, "Hey, I'd love to have you on our show," or hey, I'd love for you to meet this person, they're already calling her the white Candace Owens. If you're Aaron Wexler, here's an actual tweet. Okay, white Candace, what is a Nazi then? Like, what? How does that make any sense? Why are you calling Brett Cooper the white Candace? Like, why are you even thinking about the fact that Brett Cooper is white? Why do we keep seeing this recurring theme of Jewish supremacists constantly having to comment on white people? Like, why does she have to be the white Candace? That's ridiculous. We don't even have the same ideas. She's saying something sensible, but it gets worse. Ted Cruz, who's a pretty sensible guy, comes out and tries to big time her. I don't know how he thought that would land. She's 23 years old. It looks very loserish to try to big time a 23-year-old with, who are you? Here's what he had to say. I don't know who this angry lady is, but she's missing a key distinction. Fuentes calls himself a Nazi. He has said that Hitler is very cool and Hitler was right and he is on Team Hitler. If you explicitly side with and advocate for Hitler, you are an actual effing Nazi. Like, first off, class it up. We don't need you dropping F-bombs to a 23-year-old. Secondly, trying to big time her and act like you don't know who she is when you have done various things with the Daily Wire, including you were featured in a movie that Brett Cooper starred in at the Daily Wire, Lady Ballers. You're good friends with Michael Knowles. You know fully well who Brett Cooper is. And like, that was a super classless tweet coming from you. Like, what does she have to do? Like, run for president and not win to be recognized on a global scale? Again, doing nothing to bring people over to their cause. And because it's not just about trying to big time people, but you will find that there is this current of just sheer evil that Zionism goes hand in hand with, trying to deconstruct who an individual is very quickly. They began pouring through all of Brett's old content, looking for ways to go after her character. And they came across a clip of her speaking to Sean Ryan last year. Now, before I give you the context of this clip, I want you to listen to it because it will really help you process just how spiritually evil and possessed these people are, okay? This is the tweet that went up, a couple of tweets that went up saying essentially she's a witch. I'm not kidding. This is a real tweet. What a surprise. Brett Cooper and her mom engage in witchcraft. She's not a conservative. I don't care how hard people want to gaslight me about it. Here's another tweet. Brett Cooper, the most recent hero of the woke right, is a secular, nominally religious spiritualist. Her views are inherently unchristian, but that doesn't matter to the woke right as long as she agrees with or permits their hatred of Jews. She's good to go in their book. This is not a Christian movement. Here is the clip they are referring to.
We did all sorts of things. My mom visited mediums. Right after, I mean, I haven't done that, and I kind of want to, but she did. She went to multiple mediums, like one in New York where you don't tell them or even his assistant like who you are or anything about you, and you go to this hotel room, and he would just like sit there, just like talking about it is so weird. And both her first husband and David popped up.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And we're like, there's a 17-year-old young man here who wants to speak to you. I mean, it was like, I was actually just thinking about this meeting the other day. I was Googling, trying to see if I could find him. I need to ask my mom the name because I would love to go just do this. But yeah, she was able to speak to Don, her first husband, to hear from him. She had a miscarriage between the boys, I think, and I'm pretty sure that at one of the medium things that baby came in. Said something.
You know the lights just dimmed behind you twice.
I saw that.
Okay, so now let me properly contextualize the conversation that they're having. It's actually one of the most compelling and moving conversations I've ever seen Brett Cooper have. It's a very powerful episode of the Sean Ryan Show because she tells her backstory and you realize how much substance she has and the things that she lived through. She lived through a lot. This is somebody who had twin brothers, and one of her twin brothers dropped dead from a heart attack unexpectedly. And when she describes the dynamics of what they went through as a family, meaning things you don't think about, having an identical twin brother, and then one half of you're literally a split cell, dies suddenly, what that does to the other twin brother who has to walk by the mirror every day and see his brother, but his brother's actually dead. So her brother that survived he went crazy. And she takes care of him. He is in a mental hospital. And she's talking about the grieving process that they went through, what her mother went through. Her mother went and visited mediums. Like, may you never know the pain